Actually thrilled to have what we thought was going to be the hottest event on the internet today, but then Taylor Swift made her news, so we're number two. But we have almost 1,700 people registered for this event, and we're very excited to share some knowledge about AI with you. Before jumping in, I wanted to invite my colleague, Edwina Sims, who's Assistant Vice President for Alumni Relations, to say hello, and then we'll jump right into the presentation.
Thank you so much, Dave, and good afternoon to our AU community and our friends. As Dean Marchek just mentioned, my name is Edwina Sims, and I'm the Assistant Vice President for Alumni Relations here at American University, serving under the Office of University Advancement, where Matthew Einan leads as our Vice President. It's a privilege to greet you on behalf of nearly 160,000 alumni across the globe. At American University, we are so deeply committed to lifelong learning and to building a strong community, connected community. This diverse makeup of today's registrants, from faculty, staff, student, and friends of the institution to our alumni, is exactly that. Lifelong learning is truly at the heart of how we come together, how we grow together, and how we extend the AU experience beyond our time at campus. I have to give a special shout out to our alumni because we hope you will continue to join us for opportunities on campus and beyond. Whether you're mentoring students, supporting our scholarships for current and future students, or connecting with alumni in your region, your involvement truly strengthens the fabric of our AU network, just as this afternoon's culmination of community and lifelong learning does. And in closing, to all of you who are here for this record-breaking webinar, I'm excited for us to explore our very own intellectual curiosity, embracing new knowledge, and sharpening our skills as we move from being AI aware to AI fluent. Thank you again for this opportunity to collaborate with the Kogod School of Business, and I turn the floor, virtual mic, back over to you, Dave.
Great, thanks very much. Just want to welcome board members. We have about a third of our AU board, members of our various advisory committees at Kogod. We have about 30 CEOs, and we have hundreds of students, alumni, staff, and faculty joining. So I'm just going to give you about 5 minutes of framing of AI, and then we're going to go directly into the presentation. I want to thank our faculty, Angela Virtue, who is an AU grad. She was a data scientist. She played field hockey here. And after getting a master's degree, she worked in a number of startups working on AI and machine learning. And now she's full-time, and she's done a fantastic job helping drive AI throughout our culture. She's in charge of training all our faculty to use and teach AI. And Yannis Spiridopoulos, who's one of our most popular faculty members, he's a finance faculty member with degrees from Duke and Rice, and he's going to do some pretty cool stuff using AI that probably will be above my knowledge, above my pay grade. So look forward to learning from Yannis as well. So AI, as you know, is going to change basically everything in our view. Our journey with AI started with actually the president of Google speaking on campus, and he basically said that AI is going to be as profound as fire or electricity. And I thought, okay, well, maybe that's hyperbole. This was over 3 years ago, but let's assume it's going to be big. And then we had another speaker named Brett Wilson, who's a CEO of a venture capital firm that invests in AI, and a student asked him, am I going to be replaced by AI? And Brett said, you won't be replaced by AI, but you could be replaced by someone who knows AI if you don't. At that moment, we embarked on a process to infuse AI into everything we do. Since then, AI has moved at a rate faster than any other technology adoption ever in the history of technology. So this data shows how fast ChatGPT got to 100 million users and 300 million users, many times faster than Amazon, Twitter, the iPhone, or Facebook. Now they're at 700 million users. It's the fastest adoption of technology in history. And we're very, very early in the evolution of AI. It started as AI as an assistant where you could give it particular tasks. Now AI is really a collaborator where you can partner with AI to do virtually everything. The next phases will be agentic AI, where you can have AI go off and run something for you, create something for you. We'll actually do some agentic AI applications today. And then finally, artificial general intelligence, where AI is actually working at the same level or even above human cognition. It's going to change everything. So the data shows that it's already having a big impact on healthcare. And when physicians in emergency rooms use AI along with their own diagnostics, they're having higher, um, better outcomes in identifying which patients have serious heart conditions and which maybe have indigestion. It's going to change Hollywood. That was the issue that was so difficult in the strike. It's going to change the energy grid and the environment, which we'll talk about a little later. It's going to have an impact on jobs. We're already seeing some impact at the lowest end of the job rungs. This is an article in the New York Times by one of the top people at LinkedIn. If we have any pig farmers on the call, welcome. Actually, farmers are using AI to diagnose swine flu, and they can use AI applications to identify pigs that are going to get swine flu 10 days before they show any other symptoms. So it's going to change everything, and that's why we've changed our approach at Kogod, at our business school, to infuse AI in virtually every course, in every program, and throughout the school. We adopted this philosophy about 3 years ago, and we basically told our faculty, run, don't walk. And since then, we've received a number of accolades from the Wall Street Journal, from OpenAI, from publications. Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, said when he was here that we're way ahead of most schools, not just in the United States, but around the world. And OpenAI actually had Professor Virtue on to do a seminar. There were 17,000 people signed up to talk about changing and creating an AI culture, which we've done at the Kogod School. We won an award last year from Poets and Quants, the leading publication that covers business schools, that gave us an award for the best AI program in the country, and said that what we've undertaken is the most consequential AI transformation in business education. We're one of the only business schools in the country that has an AI major, minor, grad degree, and then badges, certificates, and we infuse AI throughout our curriculum. 90% of our faculty are using AI in their classes that started yesterday. We created an AI disclosure form requiring every student to disclose how they use AI for every assignment. OpenAI, again, that's the maker of ChatGPT, has identified this as kind of a breakthrough, and a number of universities around the country have adopted this. What can't AI do? So we have also changed our curriculum to drive the elements that AI can't do into our pedagogy. So the human skills, critical thinking, critical analysis, teamwork, collaboration, oral presentations, and communications, those skills are going to be more important in an AI future when knowledge is at everybody's fingertips. We get a lot of questions about which application to use. They're all basically very good. I would say 4 of them are great right now. So Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Claude. For most users, any of them are going to be way beyond most of our pay grades. In general, if the scholars tend to like Perplexity, that's what we use at Kogod. Every student, staff, and faculty has that. Creative people tend to like ChatGPT. It's very good for creative works. Programmers tend to use Claude. So if you're a computer scientist or program, many people say that Claude is the best. But for most people, any of them are going to be great. We infuse ethics and sustainability throughout the curriculum. We start actually teaching students what's wrong with AI before we teach them how to use AI and what's right with AI. And then throughout the curriculum, we're getting deeper and deeper into ethics issues, because there are a lot of ethical issues around AI, bias, fact, whether they're factual, and a number of other issues. And then sustainability it does have a significant, an impact on energy usage. We've decided to offset our energy usage for the use of Perplexity at Kogod. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you 10 lessons in how to use AI in increasing level of difficulty. My gut is it'll be above my pay grade, somewhere around 6, 7, or 8, but we'll see. People can join or drop off whenever they want. We want to give you some practical tips. If you have questions, put them in the chat, in the Q&A button, and we'll try to answer them at the end. And then if you want to follow along, we've posted all the prompts on a website. You can take your phone out or an iPad and scan this QR code, or you can go to kogod.info/AI prompts, and all the prompts will be there so you can follow along. And then we'll also send out a video of this presentation and a link to the website when we are finished. So probably tomorrow or the next day. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to turn it over to Professor Virtue.
Thanks, Dave. So as we start with these examples, I want to kind of anchor us a little bit in a very simple framework of how we're going to be leveraging all of these various AI systems throughout these 10 examples. So as we work through these AI systems, it's all going to come down to the types of questions and the types of prompts that we put inside these chat boxes. And that's going to be the way that we communicate and tell the AI system exactly what we want it to do. And just as if you were talking to a friend or a peer or a coworker, the more information and the more context that you can provide, the better the answer is going to be. And so as we go through these increasing difficulty examples, it's all going to come down to how high quality are the questions we're asking, how much information are we providing the AI system that it would need in order to help answer our questions, and anything else that we'd want from the output structure. So for this first example, we're going to go into ChatGPT and we're going to use it to help us find a good restaurant to go to Friday night. So Friday night, 5:30, we want to go right from work into a little happy hour and get some dinner going. So you could just go to Google Maps or you could go to Yelp and you could say, give me good restaurants in Washington, D.C., and the map will show up and give you some recommendations. Or you could go into AI and say, okay, same thing, top restaurants in Washington, D.C. And I have a bunch of typos. It's okay. The AI system will be able to figure it out. And as it goes through, you might be incredibly underwhelmed because we didn't really write a really good prompt. We weren't really explicit in what we're actually asking the AI system to do, right? We just said, hey, give us some restaurants. And it's saying you go to Pineapples and Pearls or Masseria or Le Dip or a whole bunch of different restaurants, but it's not really giving us anything that we might want. So we're going to do this again. And this time, instead of just saying, hey, give me the top restaurants in Washington, D.C., we're going to add more context. So instead of the AI system needing to be an Angela mind reader of what me and all my guests want to eat Friday night, we're going to throw in the chat something much more detailed. So we're now going to say, I have a dinner Friday night at 5:30. There's going to be 4 people there. I want 8 restaurant recommendations that are actually vegetarian friendly because someone in the group, they have that dietary restriction. And we're going to be nice to them. And we're going to say, I want to make sure that this restaurant has more than just a salad on the menu that they can eat, right? So actually vegetarian accommodating versus just, they can kind of sort of get by. And all of us want to stay in the DuPont or the Foggy Bottom or the Metro Center area because that's going to be the halfway point. We want it to be Metro accessible. We give it a price point that we want it to be. And then we're going to actually have ChatGPT organize and give us particular information for each of these recommendations. So we want them to list the name of the restaurant. We want the neighborhood. We want the type of cuisine. We want it to rate how vegetarian friendly this restaurant is, the vibe or like the atmosphere that the restaurant's going to provide, any like key must try menu items, metro access, and any other kind of notes or quirks or things that we should know. And in this response, we actually now want the order of all of these recommendations to be based off of the vegetarian menu friendly and the closeness to the metro. So now when we go back, we can see we get much more detail and much more information. So now I don't have to sift through on Yelp or on Google Maps or any of the other dining systems to figure out where might be some good places to go. So we have the Equinox restaurant, Agora, Rosica, a whole bunch of different places. And they're giving us the websites. So if we want to, we can click in. We can open the link and it'll take me to their website where I can now, look at the menu in more detail or figure out what might be a good place to send all my friends to go to. So I'm now going to pass it over to Ionis, who will give us the first example in a more personal finance related way.
All right, let me make sure this works. All right. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you, Angela. It's really great to see how AI can help us find restaurants and plan trips, right? Now comes the fun part where I try to make SEC filing sound equally exciting. So the purpose, right, is to try to show you today how we can use AI to tackle some pretty difficult analytical work in finance using Perplexity. So Perplexity is similar to ChatGPT and the other AI platforms, but it does have the advantage of specializing on providing the exact link and resources behind the outputs that it produces. And the benefit, right, for a task like this is that it can save us a tremendous amount of hours, right, from having the students or those interested, right, hunting for data, and instead we can actually focus on the interpretation and critical thinking for each topic. So in this example, I'm going to kind of analyze Tesla's exposure to China because this is kind of it's a good case study of modern geopolitical risk. So with this example, I will try to kind of show you how to quickly synthesize scattered information, right, from very dense regulatory filings and try to get a sense of the assessment of, I guess, the risk assessment of the firm. So usually think about it, right, as the kind of analysis that financial analysts do every day to evaluate different companies in different contexts. So, with that, let me get started. So for the sake of time, I'll get the prompt that we have made available right on the website, and I'll just paste it over here. So the question, right, is, again, we're asking Perplexity to look for specific filings, in this case, the 10K filings that every firm has to report. Tesla has to do that too. They're very long, very dense documents with a lot of financial information in them. And we're asking Perplexity to quote exact text from the risk factor segment of those reports about how they're exposed, for example, to China. So think about how, if this is through their operations, through their sales, supply chain risks, right, and kind of inform us about potential impact, right, from a trade war. On top of that, actually, I'm going to ask it to kind of synthesize some of that qualitative information into a quantitative score in terms of how exposed it is. As you're going to see later, right, that can help us for another kind of exercise. But here's the thing. So as also Angela mentioned previously, right, context is everything. And what Perplexity has done pretty well here, right, is that it kind of allows us to, for this exercise, right, to focus only on the SEC filing. So the information, in order to answer this question, right, Perplexity is only going to focus on the I guess, connecting to the SEC, right, and providing the information from the 10K reports of the company. So I'm going to get this started. Now, this kind of focus dramatically improves the accuracy of the information that we get. And remember, getting the right context is everything here for a good response. So the results are coming out, and as you can see, we have the sources, the 10K filings that I'm going to open in a second. But let's see, international, we also have, this is what the statements mention. We also have manufacturing facilities in China and Germany, so which allows us to increase. And let's see, so I'll just open the 10K form. Let me just actually see if that's indeed the case. And there we are. We can actually see exactly, we can trace back the source of that information, and this is how we get a sense that the company is indeed exposed, in what way it is exposed to, and it's just something that would traditionally take hours of hunting for data, we actually get in less than a minute. So for pedagogical, I guess the benefits, right, of this are just it is difficult for me to understate. The amount of time it frees up, right, for students to focus on, solving problems, right, or thinking critically about specific issues, identifying patterns or industry trends. It's enormous. It's also pretty valuable for those who are focusing on regulatory compliance, right, or due diligence. But where things get actually very interesting here, right, is the scalability of this process, the scalability of retrieving that information. I'll get the chance to dig a little bit deeper on this later, right? But the idea is that imagine, right, how what would happen if we were able to scale this really quickly for measuring the risk of an entire portfolio of not just one firm, but 100 or 200 stocks. So, for example, when there's news about a new change in policy, then those who are kind of those who need that information, right, can instantly assess which holdings in their portfolio are most at risk, how to rebalance and act quickly. So I'll expand more on the value of automating tasks like this later on, but for now I'll just pass it on to Angela.
Thank you. And so in this next example, I want us to consider for a moment that we all are project managers, and we've been working in project management across a whole bunch of different tech roles for the past 7 or 8 years. And we found a new job on Amazon's website for a senior product manager job that works on their Ring product, and we're super jazzed about it. We applied for the job and we got a call back, and now we have to do our behavioral interview with them. And then you kind of panic for a moment because you haven't done interviews in a really long time because you've been at your role for the past 3-4 years. And so you want to practice some of these behavioral interview questions and really have AI help craft and hone your own story. So we're going to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to paste a pretty lengthy prompt in here. And I'll walk through what this prompt exactly does, but at a very high level, we're going to supply the AI our resume with all of the little stories and wins that we've had over our career. I'm going to supply it that Amazon job description that I just showed. And what the AI system is going to do is it's going to synthesize and it's going to figure out the 5 or 7 key competencies that this Amazon product management role is going to require, the specific skills, the experiences, and the qualities that are mentioned. And it's going to take our resume and do an analysis to determine what anecdotes would be the best for us to use to answer some of these behavioral questions for Amazon that are going to be relevant to those companies' competencies. So if you go to Amazon's website, they have their key, company culture things that they're going to be looking for you to do and answer in their behavioral questions. And we're going to have the AI use the STAR method in those behavioral answers. It'll then help us hone our anecdotal stories by presenting all of our findings in a very particular format that you'll see in a minute. It's going to highlight any story gaps. If there's any competencies or actions from this job description that aren't directly highlighted from our resume, it's going to call those out for us to then go into some of our other experiences to come up with it. And then we'll have a practice session where we get to go back and forth with the AI in the Socratic dialogue method, where it's going to ask us one behavioral interview question at a time. We get to give a response. And in here, we'll now use the AI to actually give us immediate response and feedback on how well we've answered these behavioral interview questions. It's going to judge us on things of, are we actually using that STAR format effectively? Did we set up our situation clearly? Are we using good action verbs? It's going to go through a whole bunch of content evaluation. So is our story relevant? Are we doing a substantial job of selling what we've done as an individual? And then give us some other feedback, communication style feedback as well. So I'm going to hit enter on this prompt. And now the AI will kind of go into this zone where it is this career expert willing to give me some feedback. And so the first thing I now need to do is supply that resume and that job description. So you could go in, you could copy and paste everything. I'm just going to attach them as an individual link. Come on. All right. I will do it the old school way. That's right. So here's my resume. It's a good sample resume about a project manager, and I'm going to steal the Amazon job posting. So we've done that, and now it'll go into those individual questions. So it's doing that first analysis. So it's going through all the key competencies of our Amazon job, product strategy and vision, so on and so forth. And now it's taking that insight or that puzzle from what our resume says and what this job description says, and it's now ranking some of the best stories and anecdotes to help us craft our voice for what we should be sharing. So we should talk about the analytics platform that we've built, the predictive insights engine, so on and so forth. And I really like this because it's telling us the like why it's compelling or why we should use this anecdote over some of the other ones that we've had in our career. And at the very end, it'll give us any gaps, right? So I don't really talk about conflict management, or I don't talk about failure or learning or any influence without authority in those things. So I should go in and go for it. So now we can go into phase 2, where I say, yep, I want some practice. And it will now ask me a behavioral question. So now it'll say, tell me about a time you used customer insights to drive a product decision. And now this is where I can, in this box, type my anecdote. Now, I'm not a big typer. I think and speak way faster than I can type. And so this is where if you have the AI on your phone, or if you have the dictation feature, you actually can just vocalize your answers. It'll spit it all out. It's not going to be a great demo on this computer at this webinar. But in lieu of that, I'm going to just give you a little demo over here of some prompts that I've already typed in, so you don't have to painfully watch me type in all of this information. And as you answer those individual questions, it'll go through, say, was it a good answer? Yay, nay. What worked well? Areas for improvement, and then it'll give me a little bit of a refined or a stronger version. Now, this is where we need to be a little careful, right? Because we don't want to use the AI to rewrite all of our stories and all of our history. We just want it to help extract those stories and those highlights. So whatever it says in here, we just need to verify and do the due diligence that like the actions and the outcomes are actually in alignment with what we have done. And so it'll go through back and forth, giving you feedback to really hone that craft. Now, I'm going to pass it back over to Dean Dave to give us an example of how he uses AI in his everyday.
Great. Thanks so much. By the way, we've received a couple of questions. Let me answer a couple of them very quickly, and we'll try to infuse these. The first question is, why do we pick Perplexity? As I mentioned, all the models are great. They're beyond what most of us can use. Maybe Angela would be able to test the system and press it because she's much more technical. We liked Perplexity because it tended to be best for fact-based queries. It gave citations and sources, which we thought was very important for our students. And then Perplexity also was eager to partner with us since we were an early AI adopter. So we test products for them, we give them feedback, and they've been a great partner. We're thrilled with them. Lots of people are obviously happy with ChatGPT, with Gemini, with Claude. They're all really good. You should just play with them and test them out. We received a question from a parent. Are these classes available for non-Kogod students, and are other parts of AU teaching with AI? The answer is yes to both. Many parts of AU teach AI. Some do less. If you're in the poetry department, you might have less AI than if you're computer science or business. Actually, the thing I'm most excited about this year is our minor for non-Kogod students. So if you want to be a doctor, or your student wants to be a doctor, and you have a bio major, you do well in school, you take a lab, you have some outside internships. If you have AI as a minor on your resume, I think you're going to be much more attractive to medical school because healthcare is going to be transformed by AI, and having that technical knowledge will help. If you're a policy student, you want to get a job with a senator, and you have a policy degree from AU, we have one of the best policy schools in the country. You also have an AI minor. I think a senator or a chief of staff is going to say that person's going to be able to do research and analytics, and so they'll have a leg up. Let me show you something. There's something in Perplexity called Spaces, and it's basically a way for you to put a query into Perplexity that you're going to use repeatedly. So you don't have to type the long prompts that Professor Virtue or Professor Spiridopoulos typed in. So here I created one called a bio producer. I'm meeting parents, I'm meeting alumni, I'm meeting business partners all the time. I have a very externally oriented job, and I'm always trying to be prepared for meetings, who I'm going to meet with, and I want to know a little about them. So I created a prompt, which I'll show you, which basically says, use this space to create a short biographical blurb. And what I care about when I meet people is where they go to school, where do they live, what do they do, tell me about their family, tell me about their boards and philanthropic endeavors, because that gives you a sense of what they care about, what their passions are. And then if it's a company I'm looking up, I asked for some specific information. And then I gave it a couple examples. My former partner and boss, David Rubenstein, I wanted, here's his bio. I wanted it in this form, and then I put my own bio in there. And then also gave it an instruction that if I enter the words 5x 5 times, add 5 times the detail, or 10x, add 10 times the detail. And so I'll be in a cab going to meet with someone, and I'll pull out Perplexity and I'll type in a name. So earlier this week or last week, I met with an alum, a very successful alum, private equity executive named Ted Schiano. I actually had a drink with him, and I showed him this and I put his resume in. I met with a reporter from Axios, and I met with someone at the Presidio. I'm involved in national parks. I actually went to a board meeting, and I wanted to remind myself about the backgrounds for everybody on the board. So I put all 20 or 30 names in there, and it gave me a little bio for each. So that's the use of a space. If you're a CEO, if you're in sales, if your work is heavily relationship based, this is a good tool for you. I use it almost every day. Uh, we have a special guest, which I'm going to turn over. We're just going to do a little ping pong back and forth. Special guest, head basketball coach Duane Simpkins, who's my friend and someone I deeply admire. I've followed Duane for years. He was a DMV local legend. He went to DeMatha, which is a basketball powerhouse. He was a McDonald's All-American, played in that game against Jason Kidd. They were the 2 point guards. Starred at Maryland, took them to the Sweet 16, played pro, and then pursued a coaching degree. He started at AU. This is his 3rd season. He took us to the NCAA tournament for the first time in, I think, over a decade last year, brought enormous energy on campus, and he's a transformational leader. And I'm going to turn over to him to have him tell us how he's using AI.
Dave, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I wanted to basically give you guys a deep dive into a little exercise that Dave and I ventured on, and it was pretty interesting. So just to give take a step back, when I got the job 2 years ago, I had a couple different things in mind, 3 things in particular. One was, how do we energize our fan base to get people to come be excited about coming to Bender Arena and cheering our Eagles on? Secondly, from a recruitment standpoint, obviously you can be the best coach in the world, but if you don't have good players, it doesn't matter. So how can we attract the best players possible to have success that we want to have? And then thirdly, I had to do a deep dive. I watched a ton of film, and I watched a lot of statistics in terms of what makes our league go, who are the better teams in our league, and what makes them good. And the Patriot League, and doing the research for, on average, over the past 5 years, has been in the top 10 every single year in 3-pointers made, and also 3-point percentage. And the most important thing was, who do we beat? Who's been the top dog in our league, so to speak? And it was pretty obvious. It was Kogod. Kogod has won 5 of the last 6 championships before I got the job here 2 years ago. So in my mind, I said, all right, 3-pointers. We've got to make 3-pointers. We got to shoot a lot of threes, and we got to make threes. And that's pretty much been our recruiting pitch. And this is what we've been preaching to our guys. Like, hey, on average, we want to get 31 to 33 threes up per game. And even if we're not making them, we still want to shoot them, because eventually we'll make them. And that was pretty much on point for us. We have in year 1, we actually we set the new record for the most 3-pointers made with 279. And then we broke that record this past year when we won the Patriot League championship with 299 threes. So I want to share my screen and take you to a little bit of what we did here. And Dave was great in assisting me on this. I'll paste in what it is that we asked, in this case, Perplexity. We wanted to look at our games and compare the numbers of three-pointers made and see if there's a correlation between the wins and losses. And before I do that, I want to show you what we also did. We gave specific instructions on where we wanted AI to go. We wanted to go to the Patriot League website. We wanted to go to ESPN. We wanted to go to CBSSports.com and go through all of the cumulative box scores to get specific information and pretty much make sure that we were on point with the information that we were going to get. And I'll take you to our spaces, as Dave just talked about. We created a space here for AU three-point analysis, and I'll share with you what came up for us. And this was pretty interesting for me. This area right here, we were obviously very successful, and we won almost 63% of our games. Our three-point percentage was for the season at 34.8, and that's pretty good. When we did a deeper dive, this is what really stuck out to us, this area in particular. So on average, wins and losses, we shot roughly we made 8.5 3-pointers per game. Now, this is the interesting part. The wins and losses, this is a chart right here in yellow or orange, whatever color that is. These are the losses. And you can see in the losses, we actually shot 27 threes per game. That was higher than the 22.9 that you see right here. The 22.9 represents the wins that we had. 27 losses. So in the losses, we had a lot more losses when we attempted more three-pointers. Very counterintuitive. It's a complete opposite of what I would have thought. I've been preaching shoot more threes in order to make them. And quite honestly, that's not the way it should be. Now I'm going to scroll and show you something that's even more important for us. To the right, this is our overall season. Again, we won almost 63% of our games. But when you look over here, this chart on the left right here, 92%, when we shoot 40% or more, when we make three-pointers at a 40% clip or more, we win 92% of our games, 92%. So for us, it wasn't necessarily to focus on the number of threes, but more importantly, we should be trying to get the best threes that we possibly can to try to shoot as close to 40% per game. I'll stop sharing my screen right now. And this is really important for us. For me, what was really important for me and my staff was identifying how can we be the best coaches that we can possibly be. And obviously, we go to coaches' clinics and everything else, but how can we utilize the information that is given to us, the quantitative data, to help us articulate to our players how to play? And for us, what we're going to utilize this information for, we're going to adjust our message and what we articulate to our players. It's not going to necessarily going to be we're going to get up 33 threes per game. The emphasis now is going to be the quality of shots that we get within a game. That's what's going to help drive our instruction day to day. That's what's going to help our teaching our guys in drill work from day to day, and also when we watch film in order for us to hopefully win another championship. In closing, one of the last things that this will allow us to do, me and my staff do a really good job, I believe, of identifying NBA, other college teams, who else is playing the same way that we're playing. And Alabama in college basketball has been a front runner as it relates to utilizing the three-point shot. They shoot a lot of threes, and they've had a ton of success. And they actually have a staff. They actually have a term that they use. They call it Bamalytics. They use analytics quite a bit. And I'm watching videos of the things they do. And one thing that stood out big time, they had an army of managers sitting courtside at practice, 7 or 8 of them, and they all have laptops out, and they are actually crunching numbers live time. We don't have the budget for that. This is going to be AI is going to be a way by which we can actually level the resource playing field, so to speak, so that now we can be the absolute best coaches that we can be to help our program to be the best program that it could be. Dave?
So, Coach, I think we're going to go back to Angela. Is that right, Angela? Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Correct.
I think we just sold some season tickets based on your presentation, too.
I'd hope so.
Awesome. So as I get set up with this next example, there's a question in the chat that's about what policy do AU lecturers have for AI standardization and enforcement with students? So I'll talk briefly about that. So when it comes to AI in our classrooms, we have three main tools that we kind of can use to our disposal. The first one is what Dean Dave shared earlier, which is that AI disclosure form. And the purpose of this disclosure form is really to have a conversation where we get to set expectations of how we want students to be leveraging AI within our classroom or for a particular assignment. The very first part of that form is a whole bunch of different use cases. It could be brainstorming, it could be editing, it could be writing a really nice visualization for students in the code or for the assignment. So that's one tool that we have. The second tool that we have is through our partnership with Perplexity. Every single one of our classes now is having a Perplexity classroom space that's dedicated as a tutor. So we're taking all of our course content, the readings, the assignments, we're putting that directly into a space that Dean Dave and Coach Simpkins both shared with us. That way students can use it to ask questions of when's the exam, make me flashcards, help me study. And then the third thing is that through our major programs, we have a very thoughtful AI progression where the first day students are on our campus in our, intro to business class, we're actually teaching them how not to use AI. We're teaching them all of the things that are actually wrong with AI, the bias, misinformation, how not to use it. And so they're getting lots of preparation in all of their individual day-to-day in Kogod on expectations. So for this next example that I'm going to take us through, one of the biggest struggles that I have as we get to the tail end of the week is figuring out what to do with my refrigerator full of leftovers. Because if I go to Trader Joe's for the fourth time in a week, it's not a very good week and a little embarrassing. So I've created a prompt where we're going to upload a picture of the contents of my refrigerator, which has a bunch of random
Clean your
stuff.
fridge before taking that, Angela, or is that what it looks like normally?
No comment on that. And so we have a prompt here where I'm now going to tell Anthropic Claude, I'm going to upload this photo showing the contents of my refrigerator. The first thing that I want you to do is just analyze the picture and determine what stuff do I actually have in here. And then based on the food items that I currently have in my fridge and the leftovers and whatever other crap you can find in there, I want the AI system to suggest 5 recipes that I can make for dinner tonight for a family of 4. And on top of the refrigerator, I'm going to tell the AI that just assume that I have all the basic pantry stuff. I'm not going to go take a whole inventory of my kitchen, but assume that I have bread and flour and pasta and rice and all of that kind of stuff. And then as the AI system gives me the answers and gives me all of the individual recipes, I want the name of the recipe, the type of the cuisine, how much time they think it's going to take me, because by the time Thursday, Friday rolls around, I don't want to be, cooking for 2 hours at that night. And then the big one is I want it to tell me any ingredients that are missing that is either assumed to be in the pantry or super essential for that recipe, right? You can't make chicken marsala without chicken. So if I don't have chicken, that'd be, a bad day for all of us. And then just as Dean Dave and Coach Simpkins kind of showed, I'm giving the AI some inspiration or some example recipes or food blogs that it can kind of use to start leveraging some of those recipes. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to upload that file of my fridge. And so now with the prompt and the AI together, we're going to see what it comes up with. So the first thing it's doing is it's analyzing the picture of my fridge. It's saying we have lots of sauces and yogurts and some pasta, maybe some carrots. And now it's going to figure out what I should be making based on all those recipes. And while that cooks, I'm going to jump over to a new tab where it's already kind of done and set up. And you can see that it's suggested that I could make baked feta pasta, creamy Parmesan egg pasta, some egg casseroles, a whole bunch of stuff. And then the AI actually asked me additional questions. It says, do you actually have cherry tomatoes? Because I think I saw some in there, but that would make the feta pasta even better. And so I can now go back and forth with the AI system and really hone in on what exactly that I want to make, or I can click on one of these recipes and go directly and make that for dinner. So that's one kind of cool example of AI that's using a little bit more context, right? I needed to add a picture of my fridge. I needed to add a few other things. And then the final example that I'll share with you all today, I'm actually going to move and I'm going to go to the comment browser. So the comment browser is Perplexity's web browser that is completely powered by AI. And it's their big step into redefining how we interact with the internet. And it's very agentic. And by agentic, you'll see in a moment what that means, where at certain points, as I ask questions and probe the comment browser to do particular activities, it's actually going to take over my screen and it's going to click buttons and do all of the work for me. The nice thing about the comment browser, if I open up any tab in here, go to any particular website, the AI now has all of that context and all of that information. So now when I go prompt and probe and ask additional questions, it has that context without me needing to like make sure it has all of the additional information. So for this example of the comment browser in action, I'm going to go to a YouTube video and I'm going to go to the Taylor Swift New Heights podcast collaboration from about 2 weeks ago. And this was like super big deal in pop culture news because Taylor Swift doesn't go on podcasts and this is her first time doing it and it's a 2-hour video. So I don't know if I have any Taylor Swift fans out there, but I personally don't have 2 hours necessarily to dedicate to this individual podcast. So I'm now going to go open up my comment assistant and I'm going to say, hey, go analyze this 2-hour video for me, right? So I'll just say, summarize this video. It's really long. And now I don't have to provide the YouTube link. I don't have to provide any other information because the comment browser has the context of this individual YouTube video. And now we get the full summary of this 2-hour video without me needing to watch it, right? So it's all about Taylor Swift reclaiming her masters, the meaning of ownership, re-recordings, the whole 9 yards. And so now maybe I'm super interested in maybe her new album announcement. So I can kind of poke and prod a little bit more. So I could say, when in this YouTube video does Taylor announce her new album? And it's now going to take over. It's going to think, you can see it thinking with all the steps here, and you see how the whole screen kind of turns blue. It's now going to go find the transcript. It's going to figure out when Taylor Swift announces her video or announces her new album. And it'll take me to that timestamp in a moment. So it's suggesting it's at 1:28:10. I could click on that and it'll take me in there with that particular timestamp. So lots of things that you can do with this in terms of social media marketing. So if you have lots of YouTube clips or do lots of video content and you want to make little snippets or 30-second clips that you could post on social media and take long form content into short form, this is really, really good at being able to do all of that cutting of those clips. So I'm going to now pass it back over to Ioannis, where he's going to go back into the world of finance to help us use AI in those more advanced use cases.
Great. Thank you, Angela. Sorry, share my screen first. All right. So the first thing I want to say is that, I mean, the last example that we saw from Angela makes it pretty clear, right, that there are creative ways to use AI, right, but you can truly appreciate, right, the efficiencies that the technology can create once you start embedding AI into different applications that you use daily. In the example we just saw, right, is inside a browser and everything that the browser sees. But of course, we can talk about the something such as email or a Word document. So the functionalities, right, and the efficiencies that we get start growing, pretty fast. And in the case of those who need to work, with numbers or in data, programmers, right, the efficiencies literally grow exponentially. So with that, I want to actually introduce you to Google Collaboratory. It's a free platform that runs entirely in your browser. You can even use that from your iPad. And it's literally like a sophisticated calculator that can handle pretty complex programming. So our students actually see this platform twice by the start of the third semester, right? And so let me kind of start with a notebook, right, to give you an idea and how this becomes useful as we go through those exercises. So the first thing I want to clarify, this is literally a programming platform where we build our code here and we can expand it over time. It's literally, instead of writing words, people usually here write code, and it's like a long essay that over time grows. Or you can save it and build the library and expand on this. Secondly, Google has actually embedded in this setting, right, in this programming setting, its own AI system, Gemini. So the AI will do literally all the programming for us today. I'm not going to program anything. We just need to explain in plain English what is it that you want to do. In many cases, you don't even have to be very specific. It kind of gets you, but the more precise you are, of course, the better the output you'll get. So what this means is over time, right? Like you can literally build a bunch of code, not by actually writing it, but just literally speaking to the system here. And I'll kind of walk you through some examples in order to get an idea, right, of the potential when you use this technology consistently over time. Okay, so the first example that I'm going to go over here is pretty standard, right, in finance. We always talk about the power of compound interest. But here's, watch what happens in this setting when, students can instantly visualize it. Like they can visualize, right, the importance of compound interest. So I'm going to ask AI, who's just waiting down here, to create a complete financial visualization, right, comparing two different retirement strategies. I'm going to get our prompt, and I'll paste it over here. Actually, I'm just going to shift it on this side so that you can see it. So what I'm asking here, I'm asking Gemini to create a programming script that visualizes two different portfolios. The first one would just invest $100,000 for 30 years at a 10% annual interest rate. And then the second portfolio where we actually invest again $100,000, but this time we save an additional $10 per day, $300 a month. And we just want to see, how those portfolios evolve over time, given those assumptions. So what you see here is that, first of all, I only used plain English, right, to ask for this. I'm just describing what I want. There's nothing that I've programmed. So the AI is building, and it will build in real time over here, right, professional grade code with mathematical calculations, and visualize the data and proper formatting. So the AI agent over here, which has already responded, and by the way, I'm calling this agent because I've given them agency, right, to run the code and fix any issues that come up, is right now proposing a plan and then gradually executing it. So while addressing on its own any errors that will come up. So it's literally like having one of the the world's smartest programmers in the world, right, inside your browser, who, by the way, is also an amazing assistant, because if things go wrong, right, they just find a solution and they work it out for so I'm just going to click accept and auto run, right, so that this kind of goes through. Usually as it kind of executes this plan, you'll see in real time developing the code. But of course, since the agent kind of iterates, it just takes a couple of minutes to prepare. But for simple scenario, for simple cases like that, this is kind of a straightforward task for it. So it gives you, this is the response, this is the output that you get within just a couple of minutes, from this prompt, from the exact same prompt, without having to actually edit anything else. So with just this one request, students actually have a publication-ready chart where they can literally visualize the changes, right, or of those portfolio over time. So this is the scenario one, right, and scenario one and scenario two over here, growing over time. More importantly here, students can instantly modify those parameters, right? So for example, what if instead of 300, right, I kind of contribute 500, and see the impact of this immediately. And the number of useful examples here, right, that we can explore in class is literally endless. We can plot the relationship between Costco and just literally ask what's the relationship between Costco and the S&P 500. What's the relationship between Bitcoin prices? I strongly urge you to give it a try. That's all it takes. What's the relationship between Bitcoin prices and energy prices? And so on and so forth. So students can actually build their intuition by experimenting with different concepts without getting bogged down to the details, right, of writing Python code and making small typos, right, in some commands. Now this is just one quick example on how students can make use of this. But we can look at something more complicated, something that's just more interactive. So in other words, students can literally construct this in a way that they can directly go back and forth and provide the inputs that they want themselves. So the next example that I'm going to try, I'm going to ask the program to ask me again for what inputs do I want. In other words, it will require me to respond directly here. So I'll kind of start from completely from the beginning, and I'll go through another example with you. I'll open up the AI assistant on the right. And I'll go through another example. So students, and it's not uncommon, right? Often struggle to really appreciate, I guess, the importance of small fees and how they really compound over time. I guess our brains are literally not programmed, I think, to think about things growing exponentially. So let's see if we can create an interactive calculator that makes this crystal clear. So I'm going to make a prompt for this, but this time I'm going to ask it to just embed in it, right, like this interactive relationship that I want. So this is the prompt that I'm just going to pass on to Gemini. I'm asking it to create an investment cost comparison calculator that shows essentially how fees grow over a 30-year horizon. I am asking it to generate three different scenarios, one where we're getting charged 2%, another one that we're getting charged 0.5%, and another one that we're getting charged 0.1%. Then create two graphs and create, essentially give us a full report about the differences of those between those three scenarios. As you can see, the assistant has already created a plan for this. So I'll just accept an auto run. In real time, it generates the program that we need. Again, when we're working with agents, if any issue pops up here, it will read it will get the report. I need to manage some of those sessions as always. I need to delete a few. Sorry about that. It will continue. So again, in real time, generates the code. Now, it'll take a couple of minutes, so let me just switch into the beautiful output that it creates. So this is the beginning. This is the output that gets produced. So I'm going to run it again and see how the interactive component comes in. So once I run the code, the first thing that happens here is that it's asking me what's your initial investment. So I'll say, okay, suppose that I want to invest $100,000. It's asking me for how much do you think, how much I'm going to be contributing every month. Let's stick with 300. Enter your investment time frame, 30 years, and what do we think the interest rate is going to be in a decimal form. I'm going to put 0.1%, sorry, 0.1 or 10%. And that's it. So now I essentially provide the information that I actually asked it to ask me, And there you go. Let's see how important fees are. So you can see here the dashed line that it produces, the blue dashed line actually shows you how much you would have if you had 0% fees. You have a little less if you invested in a small fee, I guess, portfolio. And if you had invested right if the fees, I guess, in your portfolio were 2%, the gap between the final value, right, of the investment is just unintuitively larger. And so what I think is kind of fascinating about examples like that and the use, right, like having the ability to go through these things with students and people who are interested, right, in understanding things, can do with those things, is it's literally a professional tool that you can see and build intuition through exploration. And I think this is extremely helpful for many people when it comes to learning. I also think it's important because literally it shows us and kind of demystifies what goes under the hood of professional financial applications. That literally the same calculations that power some of the tools we see out there, like Vanguard's retirement planners. Now, I'll be honest. Even though this is very powerful, I think we have to admit, right, that Google Colab isn't necessarily the most kind of convenient platform for end users, for those who actually want to use it, right? So the question is, how do we? I mean, we can build this even with plain English, but how do we make those tools, right, a little simpler and more user friendly? And this is where the developments, I think, in this field and what a lot of new companies have created, in the last couple of years, is just truly fascinating and makes me very optimistic. And I think that this is the ability to use this to generate a useful application with a very simple, intuitive interface. It sounds crazy, but yes, creating a web application takes just literally less than 10 minutes. So this is the last application I have for today. I'm going to. And I'm kind of very excited about this, right? I want to show you for this example how we can take the first application that we went through, the retirement portfolio, and convert it into a web application and provide a link so that everybody here can just click the link and start playing around with the values and see how their portfolio changes. The application will look exactly, very similar, right, to what you see in applications such as Mint and platforms like that. So for this last application, what I'm going to do is I want to use Replit. So I'm just technically, I mean, just this is the homepage once you make an account. Look how it's just. It's just difficult for me, right, to believe this. They've actually made this so simple. So I'm going to get our prompt, and I'm going to just paste it right into the box. So what I'm asking you to do, by the way, I should have clarified that Replit is absolutely free. You can, whoever's interested can actually do that, at least with a certain amount of applications without any cost. So I'm asking it to build a responsive web application that does the first example that we saw outside of Colab, so that you can make it more user-friendly. So I'm asking you to build a responsive web app. I'm explaining it so that you can create the programming code that we saw before, and then build on top of this all the interface to make it appear nice. But what I love about Replit, and it worked beautifully, is this feature here where it takes some of the information that I've given and it makes it better. Prompt improvers there are other interfaces, there are other places that also provide it, but from the few uses that I made out of it, it made whatever information I provided, like, it made it way better. So as you can see, what it did is that it just provided more detailed, and it says visual references inspired by Personal Capital or Mint, and provides a style guide. So I'm just going to start this, and it's just unbelievable that I just have to sit back and do nothing. In just one single prompt, it will create the plan, and then of course create the setting that goes underneath it. that generates the web interface that we can explore, right, and play around with. So this is going to take, usually, I mean, between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on the complications, right, that we want to add. For that reason, I'll just, show you how I kind of applied it the same way previously. This is the same kind of adjustment that he did to my prompt. And I just thought it was just fascinating how it generated this web application that, once I provide and I will actually provide the link to, in the chat, everybody can go in, just submit or make the changes that they want and see in real time in a very nice interface. So they can also play with the expected annual return to make it smaller, bigger, depending on what they want. And of course, this is a very simple exercise, right? But it kind of shows how, I mean, if it takes 5 or 10 minutes, right, to generate kind of something like that, imagine if you were to use this a little bit more consistently over time. Again, the key advantage that I find with this is that it makes the use of what we built very easy, and it allows us to create something very tangible, right, out of the knowledge that we gain every time, right, from wherever we get it. The chances of using something, if it's easy to use, are much higher. So I can definitely see the use, right, of converting things that we know we'll be applying all the time into kind of automated procedures that can make our work easier. I've actually done the same thing for other applications, for literature reviews, for analyzing SEC documents as well, and things like that. So the final output, once this gets deployed, and I already have deployed it, is this. I mean, it's very simple, but it's clean, and it works pretty well. So I think, and I hope those examples make it a little bit more clear, right, for those who want to see, why some people kind of are so excited about this, and what is just driving this, the investment, right, that people are doing in this technology. And with that, I'll stop it here, and I'll pass it back to Angela.
Awesome. Thanks, Ioannis. This is super, super cool. And for our final example, before we jump into all the Q&A, I'm going to take inspiration from you, and we all collectively are going to vibe code a little computer game. And so when I use the term vibe code, that's like the new term, the new it term of how everyday people who don't have any coding experience or background can now, with AI, create their own web applications or computer applications. And so I'm today taking a lot of inspiration from this guy, our lovely mascot, Claude. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a snake game, the old school computer game, using our mascot as our inspiration. So in a very, very simple prompt, I'm just going to tell Anthropic, hey, create a snake game that can be customized for a particular company branding, create a very minimalistic, modern look. We're going to have 2 buttons to allow your user to upload their own JPEG images, which is just what photos are stored as on your computer. And the reason why we're going to do this is because I'm on the free plan, and so it's not going to host all my files for me. So we need actually like an upload button for it to take that picture and use it within the web app. And so I'm going to say, ideally, the snake head's going to be the picture, the image of Claude that I just showed you. All of the food is going to be the AU logo, so Claude is going to go home. And then I'm going to add a little wireframe, which is just a little example of what I want this to look at in the end. You could hand sketch this and upload the sketch. You could do this in Figma or any other design program that you have. And then I'm giving it a bunch of our hex colors that are going to be AU themed, right? So our AU red, our AU blue, all of the different good stuff that we'd want to do. And then I'm going to attach all of those pictures that I just talked about. So I'm going to upload the picture of my Claude mascot. I'm going to upload the AU logo, and I'm going to upload a picture of that screen. And in Claude, it will now, in a few minutes, go take an entire web game for us. And as Ioannis mentioned, these will take a little bit of time because it's doing a little bit more stuff. So you can see on the right-hand side, it is starting to write all of the code. And you don't need to know what any of that code means, but it will create that entire game. Now, I'm going to go to the done version just so that we can see it all done and there. And I will note that there's a little back and forth, right? So as you get that first POC, you're going to have to kind of play around with it, go back, say, oh, it's broken, he's not eating the food, whatever. And the AI will kind of go back and forth until you get to the final version. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to upload our Claude picture. So now you can see that the snake is now our beloved mascot. And I'm going to upload the real AU logo. So it becomes there. And now when I start the game, we have Claude eating our logo as a fun little example. So we will end on that note. And now I'll bring Dave back up to help us with all of our Q&A.
Thank you very much. I accurately predicted that this would be above my head around question 7 or 8. I hope all of you are smarter than I am, but I learned a lot. So thank you very much, professors and coach. So we're going to do we have a lot of questions. I'm going to ask each of our experts to be quick so we can get through as many as possible. Okay, so we have a couple questions around security. How secure are these apps? ChatGPT, Perplexity, do they use your data to train? If you ask a question, does that become part of the public record? So Angela, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So each system's a little bit different and it depends on which version you're on. I would say as a good rule of thumb, if anything's free, they're definitely using your data to train or to use in their backend or their backend system. So if you have very sensitive company data, I would not necessarily be throwing my company's code in a free version of ChatGPT. That's where some of those more paid enterprise systems come into play. So for example, one of the reasons why we went with Perplexity, as Dave mentioned earlier, is that in the Enterprise Pro system account that we have, all of our chats, none of the data, none of the things that we upload is going to be used to retrain any of the models. Perplexity doesn't have access or can see any of that. So it really is going to be dependent on the program plus what tier or level of payment you're on.
But in general, like I would advise people just pay the money. It's more secure and it's better, right? Do you agree with that, Angela?
Generally, yes. There's also toggles if you are on the free version where you can kind of turn off data sharing or data retraining. So there's other ways you can kind of do it, but it's a little hairy, I'll say.
Okay. Coach, we have a question about your 3-point analysis. And the question is, couldn't the results that you showed where there was a negative correlation between 3-pointers taken and wins show bias that like when you're down in games or you can't get the ball inside, aren't you all just hucking up a bunch of 3-pointers?
That's a great question. One of the follow-up analysis that you and I just talked about just yesterday is can it extrapolate those occurrences when, for instance, and it shouldn't happen that often, when we go to North Carolina and we're playing against a big time team and we lose by 50, like we shot 30-something, 37, 38 threes. If it can extract those and have possibly do an analysis on games that are decided by, let's say, 2 possessions or less, 6 points, maybe even 8 points, what do those numbers really look like then? But yes, in those situations when you're playing from behind, it's a minute and a half, 2 minutes ago, you're down 14 points. Obviously, you're going to shoot more shots that are probably not the 3-point shots that you normally would take. So great question.
Okay. Giannis, there was a question about what was the name of the program that you used to create that that financial analysis tool? And can you create any financial analysis tool that you want with that program?
So I used Google Colab for the creation of the any of those tools, financial tools. Google Colab has the benefit that it's just mostly for programming. Now, in this example, right, like Replit did all the programming behind the the scenes, something that we never see, but you'll see there is a file inside there, right, that did everything that I did in Colab and built an entire shell above it, right, to make it look nice. So technically, there are many different places that you can do that, right? But I would say Google Colab is the most instructive. It's very versatile, powerful, and kind of easy to use if the program, if the purpose, right, is to just, play with data, visualize data, these kind of things.
Okay, and the other program was called, how do you spell that one?
Replit, it's REPLIT. That's it,
REBLIT.
Replit. And
Okay,
I'll share that information actually with everyone, including the link to the application.
okay. We have a question. I'm going to try to answer this one, and Angela, tell me if I'm right or wrong. So there's a question if professors can use an AI tool to check how much of a student assignment was written by AI. I write a weekly note to all of our faculty and staff and often students. And I actually used one of the AI detection tools one time to check to see what it came up with. I wrote 100% of it, and it showed that 50% of what I wrote was written by AI, when it actually was zero because I wrote it. So are those tools useful? And do you know if a student is cheating or cutting and pasting? How do you know, Angela?
So we don't use any AI detection tools as a way to open up an academic integrity case at American University because as you kind of noted, like they tend to be very flawed in terms of like its accuracy. Additionally, it tends to over penalize international students where like their grammar is too perfect or a little bit more robotic sounding, I guess, for the AI systems, and it kind of feels like it's AI even though it's not. So we don't tend to do that. That's why we use that AI disclosure forum. Like we're really into building that trust within our students and having us be transparent as professors, saying this is how we used it, maybe to help us prepare for our class or to come up with a really cool interactive game that they can use in class. And we just hope that our students are equally as, open with us.
Great. Another question for you, Angela, is can you and coach, maybe you want to offer this. Could you take like the video from a game and have AI analyze, yesterday, coach, we were talking about how many times, your players get the ball into the paint. But Angela, could it do an analysis of, say, someone's swing or the technique one uses for a field hockey? I don't even know what you call it, but when you're hitting the ball with.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I haven't done this myself yet, but I would say yes. My advice would be that you come up with really good examples of like what you want the ideal swing to look like, or like exemplars that you can then add into a particular space in Perplexity, like we had set up for Coach Simpkins here. And then you could upload a video and then basically say, hey, like compare these two swings, right? Based on the videos, what's wrong, what's missing. And if you have really good examples of like a critique, maybe, or like a particular analysis for a good swing or a bad swing, that can help retrain a little localized AI model yourself. In terms of a larger scale, I think it would probably be better with like systems of play, right? So if we're thinking about we're going to go play UNC, as Coach Simpkins just said, right? You could probably analyze all of their past few games, figure out their presses, figure out their zone defense, stuff like that, and then come up with like scenarios or simulations to figure out what players we have that would be best or what system we should be using that would be best for their weakness, kind of a thing.
Got it. Okay. Professor Spiridopoulos, if you're teaching a class which is heavily Excel based, which is, one of the most important tools for finance professionals, or accounting, how do you use AI in an Excel based class?
So this is a tricky one because so Excel is proprietary software, so it just makes it more difficult to incorporate it. It doesn't allow the direct incorporation of any model in them. So Microsoft has allowed Copilot to be used to do pretty nice stuff, right? Like you can do wonders, right, with Copilot inside Excel, like generate data, kind of follow patterns. The only limitation there, right, is that this is proprietary software, right? It doesn't allow the use of other kind of AI models in there. And for that reason, I usually prefer to work with data in platforms like Google Colab and things like that.
Got it. Okay. Angela, why did you choose Claude for the refrigerator example as opposed to Perplexity ChatGPT? Was that intentional, or does Claude do a better job of interpreting photos?
So from my just like very personal experience, I find Claude to be better at like image processing and image generating. So that's kind of why I lean towards it. All of the examples that I did today that were on the free plans, right? So I think also I just wanted to show a breadth of different tools and make it kind of accessible to you all who are watching.
Okay. There's another question which maybe I'll take a crack at, and then Angela, since you're in charge of training our faculty, which is, are we encouraging our faculty to use AI to create course content? I would say, and Angela, interested in your view, there's a lot of experimentation. It's so new that there's no playbook. Instruction in finance in Giannis's area has been around forever, and many of our faculty have been teaching the same thing for 30 years. With AI, it's new. We do have a professor, Tommy White, who's one of our best and most creative professors. He created an entire course that he's teaching this semester using AI, and there's no books, there's no reading assignments, it's only prompts. And then he's going to use those prompts to drive lesson plans, and there's a lot of collaboration between students to work in teams to answer the questions in the prompts. So that's one way to answer it, but let's see if Angela has a different or better answer.
I wouldn't say we're necessarily for or against it at this moment. I think we're being very thoughtful with when we do use it for our instruction. I would say generally we're using it as a way to supplement or reinforce a particular concept that might be challenging. So for example, in my intro to business technology class, we have a whole week on cybersecurity. And so I'm using AI not to teach for me, right? Or to create my content, but I use it to create a game that would be this tabletop simulation where students can pretend that they're actually getting hacked by a cybersecurity leak right at the company, and they have to go through this whole routine of like what would they do basically to prevent it or stop it or communicate as a company, right? So I think that's one way where like us as instructors can now be a little bit more creative. We can kind of gamify some content or repackage how we deliver some of that instruction. But I wouldn't say it's like super widespread or like we don't have any real, I don't know what the right word is, right? But it's not, we're good.
Okay. Another question for Angela is, we have a question from an international business major who asked, like, what are the opportunities to take courses in business analytics and artificial intelligence? How will that help me position myself for the future? What's your view on having a different major, but having some AI training in what you do?
So I think the real exponential gain that you get from AI is being able to take something where you are an industry expert. You have all of this knowledge in accounting or finance or biology or statistics or whatever that individual program might be. And when you can take that and then leverage AI to help you get further or get faster at explaining those concepts, that I think is that superpower where you really get to become like a 10x, 100x, 1000x employer or an employee, right? So having the AI and being able to understand how those systems work, what the limitations are, and how you can best leverage them to meet your individual goals is, I think, where we're heading towards in this future workforce.
Good. Okay, let's try to do two more. Coach, another question. What other types of queries do you anticipate running and using AI for as the season starts?
Well, for us, specifically for this year, because in basketball, again, using your quote unquote professional knowledge, when you shoot longer shots, in this particular case, 3-pointers, the longer rounds to get now layups or get to the free throw line.
Great. Okay. Last question for either Giannis or Angela or both. How do we avoid, or what are the implications of over-reliance on AI? Is this going to be a crutch? Are students still learning? How do we use this as a collaborator and not a substitute? Who
So
wants to
that's
take
the challenge that we all kind of are wrestling with, to be honest with you. And I think there's no clear-cut solution for it. What I would say that's been super helpful isn't trying to like AI proof assignments, but bringing back more Socratic dialogue, bringing more conversation into the classrooms where we can now, have that connection, build those communication skills, tie readings that they were supposed to have done back into the classroom. And with that blend of, domain expertise plus communication plus AI, like that synergy is really what we're trying to get at and build upon. So I know a lot of professors have gone back to more like presentation style reports. So in 113, again, my introduction to business tech class, we're going to have all of our students as an assignment go find tech news, right? So what's some kind of business technology that's in the Wall Street Journal or some kind of news article? And they're going to come to class and they're going to present to the entire class. This is the article. This is the technology. This is how it relates to this thing that we talked about the last week. And then some kind of like analysis of what they think about it, right? So it's yes, we want them to use AI, but we still need us to use our own brains and make sure that they have that domain expertise.
Giannis, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I love to. So this is a great question, and I think this is what we do, right? We don't want to over rely on it. We also don't want to under rely it. So finding the right balance, right, is tricky, and I think part of what we are trying to do, like part of today's even presentation, right, is to kind of set the boundaries of this. Clearly, ignoring it is bad, or over reliance is bad. Same way, right, as if how do you tell whether a link that we find by just Googling it, right, is good or not everything we find in the internet, right, is correct. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, and part of our kind of educational goals, right, is to literally achieve that.
That's great. Okay, well, we are at 5:29 East Coast time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will send out a replay and also the prompts tomorrow or the next day, so you have them. If you're a little slower like me and you may need to go over some of Giannis's or Angela's teaching, you can do that. And we're grateful for your time. Coach, thanks so much. Edwina, thanks so much for partnering. We had almost 500 alumni, and it was we had a lot of parents. So thank you very much. It was a great session, and thanks for joining.